Kiva is a relatively new nonprofit. We're based here in the Mission District in San Francisco. So essentially, we're a 501c3 organization, and what we've done is a website. My background is I used to work at eBay/PayPal for 6 years, and I was really excited about microfinance. And in particular microcredit, the provision of small loans to entrepreneurs, developing world entrepreneurs, at interest rates that are much more affordable than the informal sector economy. And what we've done with Kiva, essentially, is we've let organizations around the world post up basically photos and business descriptions of entrepreneurs in over 45 developing countries, so that all of us, kind of $25 at a time, can become a micro lender. And what started as I think it was in the early days of Kiva, it was actually it was more of a personal project. We thought this would just be a really cool website to do, and it seems to be actually scaling to the point where today there are about 300,000 people who've made a loan through Kiva. To help about 55,000 entrepreneurs in 45 developing countries. The total amount that the internet community in the first 34 months has raised is about $36 million, and we're raising $1 million every 10 days on the website. What's really interesting is that it took us what's really amazing is that it took nearly 15 months to raise the first $1 million. So at Kiva, and it's really starting to begin to ramp. And I think the thing that we get excited about are other mission impossibles on the internet, like Wikipedia, which started 7-8 years ago, which, to think that someone would actually be so bold, and a group of people would be so bold to try to create an encyclopedia that's co-created by all of us, that has actually pretty decent integrity, is pretty, I think, pretty remarkable as an internet public good. And today I know that 1 out of every 200 page loads on the internet is a Wikipedia page. And it's really, I think it's just the power of all of us together on the internet that can do just some really amazing things once the momentum gets going. So what I wanted to do is walk a bit through basically the lending experience on Kiva, tell a few kind of highlight statistics, and then really dive behind the scenes on how this website works, and where we think it can go in the future. So if we look at, for example, Eduardo here. Eduardo is in Mexico and needs $525 for construction, and so you can read basically Eduardo's story right here and see a photo. Eduardo is posted by CHF, which is a local field partner in Mexico that we work with. And we publish a risk rating. This field partner has been on the platform for 21 months, and they've funded 647 entrepreneurs, raising a total of $641,000. So they're responsible, when you make a loan through the website, we actually wire it to this field partner. They disperse it to Eduardo here. Eduardo will pay back in a course of about 12 months. And so far, the repayment rates on Kiva, of the $10 million that have come to term on the website, 98% has been repaid in full. So it's pretty cool. So the other neat thing here is that you can actually check out the other lenders. What's interesting, so I'll just click on one lender, Maryland in Pasadena here. And what's interesting about this dog here, interesting story, is that actually it's offensive in many parts of the world when your internet lender is an animal or a pet. And so one of the things that we struggled with Kiva is, should we actually prohibit people from uploading photos of their pets on the website? And what's interesting is, I think what we want to do with Kiva is actually have minimal to none editorial voice. And so if people, for example, in the West actually value their pets so much that they want to upload that, that's something, it shouldn't be voyeurism one way. It should actually be learning both ways. And so I think what we actually need to do is contextualize why people in the developed world, for example, might actually value posting up a pet instead of trying to censor it. And that's one example of kind of some of the things that we're struggling with in the early days is how do we create this marketplace so that it's really a level playing field based on mutual dignity and there's not this kind of supplicant-benefactor relationship between one side and the other. What you can do is you can look at basically other loans in Marilyn's portfolio here. And for example, she funded a restaurant in Peru. And this one's actually fully funded. Another really interesting statistic about Kiva is every day about $100,000 worth of businesses from the developing world, from over 45 countries, posted in French, Spanish, Bahasa Indonesian, all these different languages. It's uploaded to the website. And then by the time it shows up on the website, it'll be fully funded in about 1 to 2 days by 20 individuals around the internet in $25 increments. So things don't wait very long for it to get fully funded. This woman, it's a restaurant, 4-month loan term, and here you can see kind of even more lenders who've lent to this person. So what I'm going to do is basically, let's go back and let's fund, let's see, I'm going to let the crowd pick. Basically, here is basically a list of entrepreneurs that are fundraising today. There's about 600 on the website. You can't quite see it. But why don't we pick, anyone want to shout out when I should stop?
Back to number 2.
Back to number 2? Okay. So number 2, tailoring. This is Mercy in Tanzania. Oh, great! We can. She's requesting $800. 94% has been raised, so maybe we can basically be the final 50 to fund, and basically. So when you hit Lend Now, you basically go to a checkout process, and what's interesting is the average user will lend about $100, and we also have a gift certificate functionality, so if you want to give someone I would argue a pretty meaningful birthday gift or holiday gift, this can be something, because when you give them the money, they actually get it back, and then they can reloan it in 2009, 2010, 2011. Most people don't actually, in fact, only 10% of the people who get repaid on Kiva actually withdraw the money. The rest actually revolves, and this $36 million. It's really exciting what all of us together on the internet can do. $25 capital, kind of raising money, kind of Howard Dean style or Barack Obama style. I think over the course of the next 5 to 7 years, we think we could reach about $1 billion in loans. Which, to put that in perspective, Citibank today, their total lending and microfinance is only about 80 million. So all of us, the internet community, can actually be much bigger than one of the world's largest institutions in microfinance, and I think that's really. I think that inspires a lot of hope. So one of the big questions we get is how does Kiva pay for itself? And so I will just log in. Yeah, so that's one of the most common questions is, hey, can I lend to someone here in the US? And actually this is something that we intend to, oh, how embarrassing, okay. It's my Gmail account. We actually intend to launch in the U.S. actually later this year. We feared some we weren't lawyers. We just like to build websites, and we were really excited about the idea. And we were always afraid that kind of people in suits would show up at the SEC or local lending. We didn't understand a lot of things, and because of that fear, it actually inhibited us from actually expanding. Right here in the U.S. But we realize now that we have a general counsel that it's actually not that intimidating, that there are local microfinance organizations and they would handle a lot of the regulation. And regulators tend to treat us pretty kindly is what we're learning, because it's 0% interest capital from all of us. I mean, it's pretty indisputably good. It's not usurious, and there's a lot of value to it. So the end goal is that someone, for example, from Malawi one day would be lending to someone in Louisiana. Again, blurring this line between the haves and the have-nots, and trying this over time. I mean, this is only year 2.5, but imagine 50 years out from now what this internet public good could look like.
Donations come from outside the
So 20% of the people who make a loan on the website are, yikes. Let's try this again. So 20% of the lenders are from outside the US. In fact, our lenders have come from over 70 countries. So you'll see people in Mexico lending to people in Mexico, or you'll see people in India lending to people in Uganda. And really, basically, the limiting factor, I think, right now is whether or not you have the funds, whether or not you have internet access, and whether or not you have a credit card or a PayPal account. If you have kind of those three things, then you can participate.
Interest rate determined by your partner?
Yes. So basically, when you supply funds at 0% interest, PayPal gives us free payment processing, so we have no variable cost. So 100% of that money then is wired over to that field partner, say in Mexico, CHF. And then what they do is they on-lend it at an interest rate. The average field partner on Kiva charges about 22%, which sounds high, but if you look at the microfinance industry average, it's about 35–40%. And then the informal money lender, the village money lender, that's kind of at the 80 to 300% level. So we believe that long term we could actually bring down the cost of borrowing for the world's working poor. It's still really small though. I mean, we're not at any real scale. $36 million is just a drop in the bucket, but we think that the momentum could be there. So let's try. Oh, here's someone who's doing musical instruments in Cambodia. That looks interesting to me. So let me try this one more time here. So when you basically, so Lex Soy now is in our basket, and basically one of the steps on how Kiva supports itself is we bring users to a page called Support Kiva. And it should load up any second. But what it is, do you know when you buy something from Ticketmaster, they charge you that mandatory $3.50, and people really complain about the mandatory fee? Well, with Kiva, we figure, all right, let's just tell people that, people really want to know how much of their money is going to the intended recipient versus being siphoned off. And so we actually send 100% through, but then we do need to pay for our operating costs. So what we do is we have this kind of we throw up a screen and we suggest a $2.50 or kind of a 10% donation to Kiva. And what's interesting is 7 out of 10 people choose to do that. And last year alone, in year 2, that covered about 70% of our operating expenses, the balance of which has been covered by foundations and private individuals and stuff. And so I think that's really exciting too, is that long term, we think that this could be much like Wikipedia or member-supported PBS, just a public good that the members would pay for everything. And then we actually show photos of our staff. This is Michelle, and she's in Bolivia with one of the entrepreneurs. And so that's how that works. When you make a loan, then the other thing that people seem to really value is actually seeing the impact or the lack of impact of the loan that they've made. So we have basically journals that the loan officers who go out, for example, in Uganda, they'll travel out to the village, and as they're collecting cash as one of the repayments, they'll also take a note of how that business is doing or how it's not doing, and then they'll come back and actually write an update onto the website. And so you can get kind of real-time updates by email on how your business is performing. Here's a list of this is just a real-time feed of journals from all over the world. And it just comes up. And I think there's been, to date, over 2,800 pages of journals from 45 countries. Longer term, what we'd like to do is instead of just qualitative indicators of how the business is performing, we'd really like to start pushing the boundaries on quantifying it. So just like when you can go to Yahoo Finance or Charles Schwab and look at your stock portfolio and really start comparing things, we think that it's really important to actually introduce measurements and so that you can actually see the change in net income, the change in revenue of the business, maybe the change in kind of their vulnerability or consumption habits. That would be something that we're really excited about doing. So let me just talk a little bit about some of the behind the scenes things at Kiva. First of all, there are these field partners, and there's over 100 of them, And what we do is we give them a risk rating, 1 to 5 stars, because these field partners are often NGOs that are in different levels of their growth. Some are really untested, and some are really proven. And if you don't value principal preservation, you can actually fund through a field partner that is relatively unproven and give them access to capital that they really might be struggling to get. Long term, what we think that Kiva can do is be a real public database, not only for these organizations around the world, but for the micro-entrepreneur themselves. So that one day, maybe someone could, if they actually migrated from Kampala, Uganda, over to Nairobi, Kenya, instead of having to start all over in terms of their credit score, they could actually point to the Kiva website and say, hey, look, I've taken out 4 loans here. It's a public database on my repayment performance. And so that's one thing that I really look forward to as this thing continues to scale. So I invite everyone to check out the site, and thanks for having me here.